This is the first question for our examination this morning. Number 1. Crime cannot be treated in check by the imposition of punishment. This statement is based in what theory? A. Classical theory. B. Neoclassical theory. C. Positive theory. Or D. Negative theory. I repeat. Crime cannot be treated in check by the imposition of punishment. This statement is based in what theory? A. Classical theory. B. Neoclassical theory. C. Positive theory. Or D. Negative theory. Number 2. What is referring to an act committed or omitted in violation of law for commanding or forbidding it? A. Law. B. Crime. C. Criminal. Or D. Custom. Again, I will repeat. What is referring to an act committed or omitted in violation of law forbidding or commanding it? A. Law. B. Crime. C. Criminal. Or D. Custom. Let's proceed to question number 3. Crime is subdued occasionally by a strange and morbid phenomenon, which constrains him to do wrong, in spite of a contrary to his volition. I repeat. Crime is subdued occasionally by a strange phenomenon, which constrain him to do wrong in spite of a contrary to his volition. A. True. B. False. C. May be true. Or D. May be false. Okay, let's proceed to question number 4. Blank is based on the theory that criminality is a human free will, and the purpose of the penalty is retribution. A. Neoclassical theory. B. Positive theory. C. Negative theory. Or D. Classical theory. I repeat. Blank is based on the theory that criminality is a human free will, and the purpose of the penalty is retribution. A. Neoclassical theory. B. Positive theory. C. Negative theory. Or D. Classical theory. Number 5. Man is essentially a moral creature with absolute free will to choose between good and evil, thereby, letter A, placing more stress upon the effect or result of the felonious act than upon the man, the criminal himself. B. Crime is essential as social and natural phenomenon, and as such, it cannot be treated in check by the imposition of the punishment. C. Through the enforcement of individual measures in each particular case, after after a thorough personal and individual investigation conducted by a competent body of psychiatrists and social scientists. D. None of them. I repeat, man is essentially a moral creature with absolute free will to choose between good and evil, thereby A. Placing more stress upon the effect or result of the felonious act than upon the man, it referring to the criminal himself. B. Crime is essentially a social and natural phenomenon, and as such, it cannot be treated in check by the imposition of the punishment. C. Through the enforcement of individual measure in each particular case, after a thorough, personal, and individual investigation conducted by a competent body of psychiatrists and social scientists. D. None of them. Number 6. What is referring to an act or omission that is punishable by special law? A. Felony. B. Offense. C. Misdemeanor. Or D. Crime. Again, what is referring to an act or omission that is punishable by special laws? A. Felony. B. Offense. C. Misdemeanor. Or D. Crime. Next, number 7. Blank is that most essential part of the definition of crime. A. Penal sanction. B. Punishment. C. Reward. Or D. Both A and B. Again, blank is the most essential part of the definition of crime. A. Penal sanction. B. Punishment. C. Reward. Or D. Both A and B. Number 8. The penalty is acting as deterrence, retribution, and as measure of self-defense of the state to protect the society from threat and wrong inflicted by the criminal. A. True. B. False. C. May be true. Or D. May be false. I repeat. The penalty is acting as deterrence, retribution, and as a measure of self-defense of the state to protect the society from threat and wrong inflicted by the criminal. A. True. B. False. C. May be true. Or D. May be false. Number 9. Even if felonies are committed within the Philippine territory, the revised penal code is not applicable under what condition or reason? A. operation of international law under the principle of reciprocity. B. Should commit an offense while on a Philippine ship or airship. C. Should forge or counterfeit currency, note of the Philippine island, or obligation and security issued by the government of the Philippine island. Or D. None of them. Number 10. What theory is can't regard to human element? What theory is can't regard to human element? A. Classical theory. B. Neoclassical theory. C. Positive theory. Or D. Negative theory. Next, number 11. What is referring to an act or omission that is punishable by the revised penal code? A. Offense. B. Misdemeanor. C. Crime. Or D. Felony. What is referring to an act or omission that is punishable by the revised penal code? A. Offense. B. Misdemeanor. C. Crime. Or D. Felony. Next, number 12. The ability to do whatever one wishes is referring to A. Freedom. B. Intelligence. C. Intent. Or D. Dolo. I repeat. The ability to do whatever one wishes. A. Freedom. B. Intelligence. C. Intent. Or D. Dolo. Next, number 13. What is the classification of the felony if imposes a penalty of arresto minor? A. Grave. B. Less grave. C. Light. Or D. Less light felonies. So I repeat. What is the classification of the felony if imposes a penalty of arresto minor? Arresto minor is referring to 1 day to 1 month and a fine of not more than 200 pesos. A. Grave. B. Less grave. C. Light. Or D. Less light. Next, number 14. What is the classification of the felony committed with deliberate intent? I repeat. What is the classification of the felony if committed with deliberate intent? A. Dolo. B. Culpa. C. Deceit. Or D. Both A and B. Next, number 15. The ability to know what is right and wrong. I repeat, blank, the ability to know what is right and wrong. A. Intelligence. B. Intent. C. Dolo. Or D. Freedom. Next, number 16. What is referring to an act which is considered undesirable due to behavioral maladjustment of the offender? I repeat, what is referring to an act which is considered undesirable due to behavioral maladjustment of the offender? A. Crime. B. Law. C. Felony. Or D. Act. Number 17. Blank, a generic name that refers to offense, felony, or misdemeanor. I repeat. Blank, a generic name that refers to offense, felony, or misdemeanor. A. Crime. B. Law. C. Felony. Or D. Act. The penalty in penal law is acting as deterrence, retribution, and as measure of self-defense of the state to protect the society from threat and wrong inflicted by the criminal. Set A true, B false, C may be true, or D may be false. Next, number 19. What theory has the concept of endeavoring to establish the mechanical and direct proportion between crime and penalty? A. Positive theory, B. Negative theory, C. Classical theory, or D. Neoclassical theory. I repeat, what theory has the concept of endeavoring to establish the mechanical and direct proportion between crime and penalty? A. Positive theory, B. Negative theory, C. Classical theory, or D. Neoclassical theory. Number 20. Elements of felony except A. There must be an act or omission. B. The act or omission must be in violation of law. And C. The act is committed either by dolo, that is malice, or culpa, referring to fault, or D. Freedom. I repeat, elements of felony except A. There must be an act or omission. B. The act or omission must be in violation of law. And C. The act is committed either by dolo, that is malice, or culpa, or referring to fault. D. Freedom. 21. What kind of felony is referring where the wrongful act results from imprudence, lack of foresight, negligence, or lack of skill? A. Intentional felony, B. Culpable felony, C. Mixed felony, or D. All of them. I repeat. What kind of felony is referring where the wrongful act results from imprudence, referring to lack of foresight, or negligence, referring to lack of skills? A. Intentional felony, B. Culpable felony, or C. Oh, B. Culpable felony, C. Mixed felony, or D. All of them. 22. Who among the following is the advocator of positive theory? A. Dr. Hans Gross, B. Rodrigo Duterte, C. Cesar Lombroso, or D. Floramante Soberano. I repeat, who among the following is the advocator of positive theory? A. Dr. Hans Gross, B. Rodrigo Duterte, C. Cesar Lombroso, or D. Floramante Soberano. 23. Those felonies which law imposes capital penalty in those afflictive penalties. I repeat, those felonies which law imposes capital punishment or capital penalty in those afflictive penalties. A. Grave felonies, B. Less grave felonies, C. Light felonies, or D. All of them. Next, 24. Mens rea is an element of crime. Is it true? B. False, C. May be true, or D. May be false. Next, 25. An act that is injurious, detrimental, or harmful to the norm of the society? A. Custom. B. Tradition. C. Crime or D. Law. I repeat, an act that is injurious, detrimental, or harmful to the norm of the society. A. Custom. B. Tradition. C. Crime or D. Law. Okay, sa pagkakataon na ito, kinakailangan na ninyong kunan ng larawan ang inyong mga examination papers at saka isend sa Facebook group natin sa pamamagitan ng pag-paste doon sa comment section. Tignan yung Facebook group natin na nagre-require sa inyo na isubmit doon ang inyong mga examination papers. I repeat, kunan nyo ng larawan ang inyong mga examination papers at isubmit nyo doon sa Facebook group natin na nagsasabi na i-paste nyo doon ang inyong nakuhang larawan. Binibigyan kayo ng 5 minuto para gawin ito.